What's up, Don? What's failed today?
What's failed today? Yeah, I'm doing yet another one of my failures of Christianity. I've done 19 shows, so it's getting to be a bit of a marathon.
What?
Right?
That's like a year and a half worth of shows.
Yeah,
at
it's
this point.
quite a number at this point. I've got a lot more to go. So just to introduce the topic, hey, your doorbell rings, and it's the vacuum cleaner salesman.
Hello.
Hello. I have a vacuum cleaner set to sell you. And
I don't need any.
I don't need any, right. Well, he makes a number of claims. He says, well, it's the most powerful vacuum in the world. Well, I've heard that before. A lot of places, a lot of vacuums make that claim. And he says it'll clean your whole house, even your dishes and your laundry and your car too. And it's like, okay, right. It'll fix your relationships, pay your bills, and even solve world hunger. With this vacuum, all things are possible.
Okay.
Right.
But I thought nature abhors a vacuum.
Right, nature abhors a
Hey-o.
vacuum. Right. Anyway, so you say, well, okay, let's try this baby out on the rug and see what it does there. You know, we'll save the relationship stuff for later in the world hunger. He says, well, no, I don't really have the vacuum here. You just got to have faith.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. And if you don't believe me, my boss will torture you. Yeah. So this is you send this guy packing. He's obviously a con artist, and
I think I also call the police if he just threatened me with torture.
There you go. Well, that happens all the time.
Right.
So you don't need to know a whole lot about his vacuum to know that this vacuum probably is crap. You don't need to, just from that interaction, you can tell a lot about the vacuum, right? If a product is good, it stands on its own. When it's not good, you need lies or some other thing to market it. And the lies tell you something about the product. You say it tells you it's garbage, and that it tells you something about the promoter, that the promoter thinks you're gullible, and that they know it's garbage too. So if they're lying, if the people who are selling this thing aren't even using it themselves or not even following the creed or whatever they're marketing, then that tells you it's also pretty bad. So I got on the subject of the lies of Christianity, and there's jillions of them. There's too many for one show, maybe too many for 10 shows. That's how many there are. And there shouldn't be any, right? There shouldn't be any if this thing is good and has value and these sorts of things. And so today I just want to focus on just a very narrow area. I'm going to focus on modern propaganda. And of course, since Christianity needs these lies to promote itself, it must be pretty awful, and that's a failure of Christianity. So rather than repeat the lies, I'm going to tell you some of the truths today. I got 7 little things. I'm going to go through them very quick, boom, boom, boom. If you have heard differently than what I'm telling you today, then that was probably a Christian lie that you heard instead. The U.S. is not a Christian nation. Our laws are not biblical. Evolution is a well-validated theory. Creationism is pseudoscience. Christianity is a blight on society. That's a pretty strong claim. Atheists are moral, and atheists serve valiantly in the face of death. So the U.S. is not a Christian nation. The U.S. is the first secular nation. The Constitution separates church and state in the First Amendment and prohibits religious tests of public office. Article 6 does not mention Christianity, does not promote God. It's a secular constitution. And these principles have influenced many other countries after us. The framers were deists and some Christians, but no real fundamentalists.
But Don, did you know that separation of church and state does not appear in the Constitution?
Right, just like the Trinity doesn't appear in the Bible. Yep. So yeah, we have in the First Amendment. Let's break that down. We have the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause.
Right.
And it goes, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And so that's the first part of the First Amendment, and that's kind of gives you a wall of separation that the government can't be meddling in religion and shouldn't be promoting religion.
Right, and the term wall of separation was used by Thomas Jefferson writing to James Madison, 2 of the people who had the most influence in actually writing that thing. And they were discussing what they were doing it for.
Right. And this of course was ratified by the people who founded our nation, right? So it wasn't controversial in that sense, but it was a new thing because they saw firsthand the horrors of religion, like the witch burnings, which actually occurred in the United States before it was founded in the 1600s in Salem witch trials. So the framers were deists mostly, and also various Christian sects like Unitarians. Many held Christianity in contempt, and the Treaty of Tripoli says this government of the United States is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion, and that was unanimously ratified in 1797. Also, if you want to take a look at the Bible and see whether some of those things got in there, well, the Bible doesn't have any concepts of voting or representative government or equality. And a lot of our God blather motto, the pledge, and other religious entanglements came from the 50s when we had our little Red Scare. So the United States is a secular nation. Our laws are not biblical. The first four commandments concern God, of the 10 commandments concern God and are not a part of our laws at all, are incompatible with our laws. And our laws are based on the British common law, which were established by the mid-5th century in Britain, and Christianity arrived there late around the 7th century. So it was already in place before Christianity hit there. Jefferson describes this to Thomas Cooper in one of his letters. The Code of Hammurabi is the oldest written legal code we know of. It comes from Babylon, 1772 BC, or BCE. It's on stone, a stone stela, and the biblical laws, the laws in the Bible were actually stolen partly from there, they think. And there's no disagreement about what it says, unlike the 10 Commandments. Evolution is scientifically sound. It is the unifying explanation for the diversity and complexity of life. It is the most validated scientific theory ever. And the lines of evidence include the fossil record and radioactive dating, geographic speciation, especially on islands, common morphology, embryology, genetic evidence is amazing.
This is a separate lie, moving to creationism?
Yeah, they like to portray that, evolution's a theory in crisis, and that has this problem, and they don't have any sort of competing explanation that is even remotely close to...
Yeah, I mean, what's weird about this is that, you can't specifically... I mean, it's hard to get specifics about what the Bible says about evolution, because it was... they didn't even have that concept back then.
That's
and
right.
I think when new topics like this come up, like after Darwin came up with this, Christianity sort of takes a while to come to a consensus on what they actually think about it. I mean, I saw that happen with like stem cells a couple, like a decade ago when that was a hot topic, where at first they were like, well, we're not really sure what to make of that. And then they were like, oh yeah, it's definitely a sin. God said it's a sin, and it's been obvious all along.
Well, and then you can take a look at in vitro fertilization. At the time it was very, very controversial, and now it's like no big deal. And furthermore, a lot of Christians use it to have children.
Right.
So,
and the Catholic Church took 300 years to get around to apologizing to Galileo. So eventually we expect that they'll sort things out about evolution.
Well, evolution is one of these terrible things that really kind of throws old Jesus under the bus. And here's why.
Well, Francis Collins wouldn't think so.
Well, I would say he's wrong.
Okay.
But yes, there are a lot of Christians who say, hey, this evolution thing is not a threat to Christianity.
Right.
And that is true. There are a lot of folks that say that. But if there was no Adam and Eve, there was no fall of man, or this story is completely metaphorical, right? And if there's no fall of man, no original sin, then there's no real need for Jesus to come back and fix things. So Jesus becomes kind of the crucifixion becomes kind of a marketing ploy or gory performance art or something. It's kind of pointless at that point. And this whole idea of substitutive sacrifice of Jesus is also pointless if there's no reason for him to do that. So I think it's a pretty pretty damning thing, this evolution too.
Well,
and
if I
think
put
that's why
my
they're so
Francis
threatened.
Collins on, my
Yeah,
Francis
well,
Collins hat on, I could say that
you can play.
Adam and Eve were just were a metaphor, but the fact remains, it stands to reason that mankind are all sinful and fallen, and look at you lie and steal all the time,
Right.
and lust
Have you
and
ever
stuff.
lied? Yeah, right.
Right. So,
That whole-
so regardless of what these two particular people did, we're still able to use the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. I mean, I think it's all nonsense.
Yep.
Obviously.
Yep. Well, and the other side of that coin is,
But Christianity is nothing if not endlessly flexible in what they
that's
accommodate.
true. That's true. Pretty much any position you'll find opposite takes, and so it makes it very hard to make blatant statements about Christianity. I do tend to lump Christians together in the sense that, hey, there's this movement of people out there doing things in the world, right? They're they are against gay rights. They are promoting, they are against evolution. They are against contraceptives. They are, as a rule. And they are having this influence. They're changing our laws. They are influencing state school boards and these sorts
Right.
of things.
Well,
and
some
so,
sects are at
some
least.
sects are, right. The other ones maybe are
fundamentalist
sitting on the
ones, yeah.
sidelines. So it's like, well, do you blame the team when they're scoring touchdowns because do you say that they're not scoring touchdowns because they got some people on the sidelines that are watching that just don't happen to be in play at that moment? Or do you count the wins and say, these folks are doing it for this reason? That's kind of the dialogue there.
Okay.
Well, getting back to evolution, the flip side of that is creationism. The folks that don't like evolution would prefer that you believe in the creation story from Genesis, and Russell has made a big study of this. The creationism over the years, and then the modern packaging of intelligent design.
I don't know if I'd call it a big study, but I will say that the Texas School Board, I hear, suffered another defeat last week when they wound up adopting sane textbooks.
Oh my goodness! The same
Again,
textbook standards again.
and this is the this is the same
They're
thing that
falling
happened
down.
in 2003. They were trying to introduce some intelligent design or teach the strengths and weaknesses into the
Yes,
textbooks,
yes.
and it didn't work. Again,
You and I were both part of those battles.
Yes, we
that
were.
was a very
It's been
interesting
fun.
time. Yeah, I earned my first feather as an atheist in my head cap. Anyway, so creationism is pseudoscience. It's crackpot pseudoscience with no real scientific backing. Every claim they've made pretty much has been shot down by real scientists. And the organizers who are doing these are the Discovery Institute on Answers in Genesis. These guys are fraud mills as far as I'm concerned. So let's see, what else we got?
next slide.
Next slide. Christianity is a blight on society. Gregory S. Paul did a study on that showed that religious belief correlates with many social ills in first world countries. It correlates with homicides, teen suicides, infant mortality, life expectancy, low life expectancy, STDs, teen pregnancy, and abortions. And if you're claiming that religion is good for society, you got a problem with this study because it shows the opposite. It's not good. And Christian history provides many examples of this blight. We have witch burnings, inquisitions, torture of heretics, crusades, extermination of the Cathars, holy wars, persecution of the Jews, suppression of science and reason, pedophilia, scandal, etc., etc., etc. On and on and on. It keeps going. Atheists are moral. We are. Morality does not come from God. It is an innate and fundamentally rooted in our big brains. We have empathy, reason, responsibility. We can do reciprocity. We are a social species and have evolved to cooperate, and that's why we are so powerful in this world and so smart, and we have TV shows. Christianity has a lot of broken moral concepts: original sin substituted for sacrifice, mindless subservience, fear of punishment is just a childish morality. Taking things on faith is not a good way to live. Atheism is underrepresented in prison populations. We have lower divorce rates. According to one study, I saw atheists make up 0.07% of the prison population, but we have many more numbers than that in the overall population. Atheists historically has led the fight for women's suffrage and women's rights and the end of black slavery in the United States. Atheist societies such as Sweden do very well. They have high social functioning, low crime, higher happiness. So this idea that atheists are immoral is just a lie, a lie. Atheists can serve valiantly in the face of death. The Military Association of Atheists and Freethinkers have over 200 examples of atheists on their website who have served in the face of death and who have not turned into sniveling, wretched people in the foxholes stereotype. Some people include Pat Tillman, Hans Kasten, Ernest Hemingway, and many, many, many more folks, many of whom are deserving heroes. Some non-military examples include, if you want to watch the docudrama Touching the Void, was about some rock climbers who faced death, who were atheists, and they didn't ever pray and didn't even think about it. Or you can read the writings of Christopher Hitchens, who died recently of cancer, and his introspection on what that meant to him. Okay, so Christianity, we've got a whole bunch of just modern propaganda. There's 6 or 7 things that are common lies that you hear today. Christianity needs those lies to market itself. Promoters apparently don't have any good reasons for you to believe in Christianity, so they think they need to be lied to accept it. And the lies tell you it's a fraud, and atheists already know that. We already know it's a fraud. Don't tell us. So Christian lies, including modern propaganda, is just one more failure of Christianity.
Thank you, Don.
Sure.